Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and we are going to be talking about Bill Gates, his now symbiosis, if you will, with OpenAI, with Google. Also, I know that's not in the headline, but when you're building a technopoly, everything kind of has to be the same. Okay, you have to have control mechanisms and levers, and at the end of the day, at the upper echelons, you don't have true competition. Instead, you kind of have a power struggle of the same agenda and who gets to run it. And that's the reality. Okay. So we've got this 7-minute clip of Bill Gates at Davos last week, just before the Trump speech. I haven't really decided whether or not I want to do a full video on the Trump speech because it's a lot of talking. Okay. And the rhetoric, 90% of the time, is really, really good. 10% of the time, it's over the top, obnoxious, authoritarian, and inaccurate, outwardly, at least. For instance, Trump again just keeps touting Operation Warp Speed, the military operation. I mean, he admits it's a military operation because it was, uh, as the best thing since breakfast. You're not doing yourself any favors. And the bottom line is, we are now a year into this administration. For anybody that thought that there were going to be some kind of high level arrests or investigations into people such as Gates and others that were heavily not only criticized, but exposed in front of what would become more and more of his base. At arenas like the Reawaken America tour, which I was on, not focusing on Gates in particular, actually focusing on his quote unquote rival in the AI department, in the technology department, the Musker the Musker nuts himself, but warning against these technologies, ChatGPT and others, and the fact that they are getting ready. And when I say they, a small class of humans that are predators that run across all gamuts around the planet. Okay? It's not just the Americans, it's not just the Chinese, it's not just the Israelis. All right, there is a clique out there that is hell-bent on fast forwarding AI and feeding AI all of our human resources that are necessary because they're anti-humanity. And Gates is going to tell you right here, very casually during this conversation, a lot of white collar jobs are getting cut out in the next 5 years. Okay. But the big lie is somehow this is going to be beneficial and people are going to retire sooner. Folks, right now, the average standard of living of somebody in the United States over the past 3 decades has plummeted. Has plummeted. Look, I know a lot of people don't remember it very well, but I'm gonna take you back to a place called the late 90s, pre 9/11, pre the United States military industrial complex having its finger in every honeypot you can imagine. Okay, and having troops all over the world in these wars of aggression. Whether you liked it or not, and it was on the way to being pro globalism under Clinton. I'm not giving Clinton credit for this. I'm certainly not giving George H.W. Bush credit for this. But there was a time period where, yes, we'd moved into fiat. Yes, there were warning signs. Gas was under $1 a gallon nationally in the late 90s. All right. People owned their homes. There were so many of the Gen Xers, okay, that were living in homes they owned in, with 5 to 8 people in their family with a 2-car garage, doing pretty damn well. Doing pretty good. Not everybody, but overall, the cost of living had not skyrocketed to the point where an entire generation, I'm the tail end of Gen X, but you look at the millennials, you see the same thing. First of all, we're in population decline. And the thing about that generation is they were promising us young, obviously before the late 90s when you could actually see the boom, the internet coming into play. Things like eBay starting to transform commerce, okay, globally, actually bringing prices down on a lot of goods and services that you could now get online. So it felt like everything was kind of moving forward. But now we're at the point where the technology is exceeding what these people at the top think humanity has any type of use for. Because quite frankly, the vast majority of them have always been authoritarians, believed in neo-feudalism, believed in a global serf class. And in the United States, we've had it so good for so long, people have been blinded to this. So, look, Gates is on the march, man. He's not going anywhere. He's marching into this dystopian future, full throttle. It's not going to matter if Trump is in office. It's not going to matter who the next person is. It's not going to matter when Gates is gone. All right? This vision will continue to live on and continue to propagate before us. The question is, how much do we push back? And are we prepared for our standard of living totally and completely plummeting as we watch automation, AI, and robotics take over? And I'm gonna hammer it today because after we do the Gates speech, I'm gonna play a lot of the Dennis Bushnell clips, and you'll see why, because it is so in line with what is going on right now. So thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Cannot do it without you. $5, $10, $15, big donors. You mean the world to me. We've also got the PayPal down below. Buy me a coffee. Guys, once again, I know it's hot right now to talk about ICE. I know that there's so many people that want to, still play into MAGA versus the left, etc. That's not what we're about here. We're about the real great replacement, and that's the replacement of humanity. There's a place to talk about immigration and the culture wars and what's going on in this country and Ilhan Omar and some weird stink bomb incident. I get it. This matters today, tomorrow, well into the future, and not enough people are talking about it, period. So please consider supporting the broadcast. Big ups to Marigold Resources, marigoldresources.com. They broker the sales and purchases of business. If you're in that game, go check them out. Then, of course, we've got the River City Reader, rcreader.com, a true independent media operation. They got a ton of great stuff up there on January 6th and beyond. I love having an independent media operation here in the Quad Cities that's actually in print. I was doing a little thrift shopping this week over in the Salvation Army, and my man McGreevy must have put me in the magazine because somebody said, "Oh, I saw you in the River City Reader." I'm like, "Thank you. I'm glad it's getting out there." Give me a follow on X. A lot of the raw stories, some of the stuff that we don't cover, we're about to cover this in a minute. The raw video, we're going to go over a little piece of that. That's over here. Please, and by the way, support people like Josh Walkos. He's been on the program many, many times. But does a great job. Little New World Order get up right there. So let's start. Before we get to the video of Bill Gates, Google settles Google Assistant privacy lawsuit for $68 million. Now, they've admitted no wrongdoing. I don't use Google Assistant. I don't even necessarily know that you had to use Google Assistant. They're using auto content ACR software, auto content recognition. That's video, audio, you name it. I've been talking about this stuff literally over a decade. Okay. Literally over a decade. I think the one that we honed in on many, many years ago was a software called Alfonso that was being used in smart TVs and certain phones, etc. Of course, they're doing it. $68 million is a drop in the bucket for Google, a military industrial complex company under the umbrella of Alphabet, but partnered in the arena of AI in a manner most people don't know, partnered with NASA. And we play those videos here quite a bit. They've got they've got a NASA Google AI laboratory, everybody. Come on now. And we'll probably, when we get to Bushnell, bring up the document. Our resources are being given over to AI. It's a little dip today in silver at 111, even though it's shattering records. But I'm pretty sure yesterday it hit 118. That's a little marker, almost up to 120. Let's see. Yep, 118, 118.23. Looks like that was the biggest. They're coming for our resources to give to AI. And we're watching it. Actually, the end game is now in real time. So without further ado, we'll break into this as it goes. Here's Gates at Davos telling you about this partnership with OpenAI and kind of laughing about the system that is totally and completely rigged when it comes to these foundations that don't pay taxes, by the way, that are going to run these things. The old NGOs.
In Africa to expand access to healthcare. Earlier, I spoke with Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and started out by asking him how this partnership came about.
There's a great ongoing conversation with Sam and the whole team at OpenAI about the way they want to improve the world and how their AI can be used even in poor countries for issues like health and education. And so we decided, to provide all the computer time and to support a pilot in 1,000 health clinics in Africa, starting with Rwanda.
So what does it actually look like in practice?
Well, you as a patient will talk in your native language to the AI about your symptoms. You'll schedule your appointment through the AI. When you come in, instead of doing paperwork, the doctor or the clinician, usually it's not a doctor, will see that summary. They won't have to fill out paperwork like they've had in the past. So the idea is to make the quality of that encounter far higher, the waiting far.
Let me just stop right here. If you think that this is just going to happen in Africa, okay, they've openly been preparing you for artificial intelligence-driven healthcare. Okay, think of the disastrous nature of what Gates has done around the world. And now the pilot program is starting in Rwanda. All right. I got a community guidelines strike. Okay, it's a warning, and I had to take training. But if you noticed my interview of Rick Hill, Too Young to Die, and his firsthand experience with cancer, in no way, shape, or form did I provide medical misinformation, although critical of certain treatments like chemotherapy, for instance. We never, ever, ever made some kind of statement. In fact, we talked about how it was utilized even at the clinic there. Didn't matter. Got the strike. Authoritative medical establishment narratives are going to be programmed into these things. You are going to be treated by the numbers. All right, we've already discussed the fact that they're trying to see what the accepted level of misdiagnosis for an AI will be. Medical malpractice, number 3 killer in the United States. That's why, I see people post these videos like of Venezuela and how bad it is there and how they can't get medical attention and their mother died because of this or couldn't get it. Why is that different than the United States? Our medical system's absolutely broken. You can't get a real price on anything. The insurance companies are in cahoots with the hospitals that are for profit. I don't even want to get into, the financial aspects of the hate and lie shots. All right. So this guy is gearing up for artificial intelligence programs to start treating people in Africa. And they always go after the people that can defend themselves the least first. Right? That's why a lot of these programs, before they go like nationally in a country, they'll be part of some like small refugee program. There'll be some humanitarian aid overseas. But now they're getting ready, man. They're big time beta testing this. It's really an alpha test before it goes full throttle globally. But let's get back into it. Yeah, Bill Gates, great. AI doctors, AI clinicians. You're talking to a machine that's programmed. And talk about not even having the human empathy of a doctor that you might be able to reach with your words, with your presentation. Not going to be able to do that with an AI.
Shorter, and to take the very constrained resources that these countries have and have far better health care.
And how did you decide? I know Microsoft has a partnership, of course, with OpenAI, but how did you decide to do it with OpenAI as opposed to, we just talked to Demis from DeepMinds or Anthropic or one of the other models?
Yeah, so you'll see the Gates Foundation working with Anthropic and Google and Microsoft and OpenAI. We have major things that we'll do with each of them. OpenAI jumped up and was super.
So just kind of passing over Google. When we're talking Google, we're talking NASA, we're talking NSA, we're talking the national security apparatus. Microsoft's guilty as well. A lot of people forget this, but I did a report on this years and years and years and years ago, back before the Xbox One was even out. Now the Xbox, One is an older system. The Xbox 360 had the Kinect. Microsoft worked hand in hand with the U.S. military on that. Hand in hand with the U.S. military on the Kinect. And why was that important? Because in a time before smart TVs, and even as smart TVs started to get into that arena, okay, you have to understand the Kinect had 3 cameras on it, not just a microphone. So you had access to all these families, huge seller, access to all these families' living rooms. And remember, when we're talking AI, what is it programmed with? Data, with your GPS location, with your digital habits. But more than that, how much time do you actually spend with your family in front of the magic box? What are your interactions with other humans? They're taking it all. And Google is the mechanism for that. And I'll show you, again, if they just paid out another $68 million getting caught doing it. It's not just Google, but Google's a huge part, just like Microsoft. It's all going into the same slop sauce up at the top. Okay? Up at the tippity top, it's all going there. All your information to feed to this AI that they want to take over everything. Okay? So Microsoft, Google, now OpenAI and Altman, and he's gonna sit there and he's gonna talk about these foundations that never get criminally prosecuted, ever. All right? That when they are caught in some kind of wrongdoing in another country or something like that, there's like some money paid out. See what's wrong with that system? In a system where it's the money is just a tool to get the resources. If you have unlimited like paper fiat, who cares? As long as you're in control of the landmass, as long as you're in control of the technology, as long as you're in control of the distribution of that technology, we'll just pay it out, even if we're acting criminally.
Super generous on this. Of course, they have a foundation that owns a significant amount of their company.
Right.
The value in that foundation actually rivals the world's biggest foundation, the Gates Foundation. And so,
the world's. Let me just says it casually. His foundation, which I believe to be a global gangster-like criminal organization on behalf of globalism. Okay, here, this is the mouthpiece of globalism here at Davos. All right. The World Health Organization is a mechanism to push it forward in bed with them. The World Economic Forum is a mechanism to push it forward in bed with them. The United Nations is a mechanism to push it forward in bed with them. And these NGOs, the two largest leviathans, are now going to be involved in artificial intelligence, which is all about not only replacement of humanity, but narrative management while they do it. Yeah, a little spooky.
They'll often, in terms of their capacity to donate, be a great partner.
By the way, what do you think of that? The fact that OpenAI will ultimately, given the ownership structure, be perhaps the largest foundation in the world?
You know, it'll depend on how much the value goes up
Right.
over time. But I think that's incredible. I wish, 25% of lots of great companies was going to go to the poorest in the world. Essentially, my ownership of Microsoft indirectly has done exactly that.
Right. But you've been one person, and in some cases, two people or more. You have a board, obviously. This is
Look at his little. Yeah, you obviously have a board. Sorkin, by the way, I mean, for some reason, the globalists love Sorkin. They love him as a moderator for these people. They love putting him on the stage. They love this Sorkin guy.
what they are going to do is going to be very different in terms of how it's governed, I imagine.
Yeah, they're hiring people in. They have a top-notch board that's encouraging them to put more activities into this philanthropic side. And,
whenever you hear philanthropic, think money laundering. Think not paying taxes. Think profiteering. Gates is up there talking about his 20-to-1 investment in the bibbity-bobbity boos through his foundation that he pays no taxes on. And he talks about how it's more profitable than just about anything else. Well, that market might be drying up if you just saw the recent interview. I think it was with the head of Pfizer, that now that these regulations are going to be too tough, there's no market. If the United States isn't back, there's no market. Market mechanisms and movement. That's all this is.
But I'd also say Google, Anthropic, Microsoft, they really want to see AI used for these societal purposes. And so we'll pick the best partner in different areas, but the quality of the work at all those companies is phenomenal.
We've been talking about OpenAI and the foundation. Elon Musk is suing OpenAI over the sort of structure of the company and whether.
And let me just say this. Again, Musk is in bed with all of the NASA in particular, SpaceX. He's the transhumanist solution to when the AI and automation starts to take over too much. Just get your Neuralink. Okay? What you're going to hear here is largely theater. Okay? Gates is going to talk about all the lawsuits. Now, is it theater in the sense that all of it's fake? No. Like I said, you've got, first of all, Musk does not run all these companies. They are vying for who gets to be the spokesperson, who gets to be the middle management in between the true papas out there on this stuff. I mean, again, remember, Musk very much a part of OpenAI in its infancy. Sam Altman, not coming across to me as anything but an authoritarian sociopath, if not psychopath. You guys have seen that Tucker Carlson exchange. It's very, very disturbing, super disturbing. But here you go. They're going to get into the Musk lawsuit of OpenAI. And listen, in this case, again, Musk's rhetoric is often correct. Like, yeah, the structure of this company under this foundation, it should be totally illegal. I mean, so many of these structures under non-government organizations, in my opinion, should be totally illegal. But again, we don't truly live in a capitalistic society in this country or beyond.
can even go public and whether it can have this this effective foundation longer term. And it has a huge impact long term on Microsoft too, depending on how it all works out. What do you think is going to happen?
I doubt that that will be successful. That's, a little bit sour grapes on his part. I mean, after all, you have people, not just Microsoft, but lots of people investing many tens of billions into the company and feeling like, okay, this new structure is going to work well. They've renewed their board. I'm very impressed. They've gotten through a lot of challenges, and they've got to raise the money, and so their new approach has provided the confidence that they'll succeed.
But this is going to, I think it's going to trial.
Yeah, I mean, like the number of lawsuits that are out there is very high, but I'd predict that OpenAI will continue to do well.
Yeah, I predict the same, because he's just smug about it. Oh, yeah, the lawsuits are high. What he's telling you there is, yeah, there's a lot of lawsuits. We have unlimited money. Okay, whatever those lawsuits bring, the reality is all of this is pushing forward, and I intend to be at the apex of it. I'm Bill Gates' mother trucker. Suck it.
One of the things that we've talked about a lot before is jobs and AI and just what's going to happen. And you've talked about the idea that over time, you plan to cut staff in part because of AI, I imagine, towards the foundation?
Yeah, well,
what does that look like?
For the foundation, we want to be as efficient as possible. Remember, we're saving lives for like $1,000 per life saved. And so always making sure that we are ultra efficient, measuring the impact of every grant. And so we're not going to make a substantial reduction, but we are going to go down a little bit in order to keep our operating expense around the 12% level. And so we're asking everybody to be creative about, okay, could we have used third parties to do this, or could we use AI to do it? And I'd say every organization should probably be asking those questions.
And there's the smug little look. Every organization better be asking those questions. And we're going to get to artificial intelligence, and again, what bull snap it is. And again, narrative management, and replacement of all of humanity. Hey, got news for you, everybody. Doesn't matter what God you worship. Doesn't matter what gender you believe you are. They're coming for you. This is it.
Do you think that when we look at employment already right now, and sometimes it seems a little soft, it's gotten a little softer, do you think that's a function of AI?
Maybe not to date, but 2 years from now, 4 years from now, particularly in the white collar area, yes. The world will be more efficient. That'll free up resources to do other things. As robots come along, then you'll see the same thing over in the blue collar space. As autonomous driving comes along, you'll see that in that particular vertical.
So let's just stop. If you're in white collar, he's laughing about it. You got about 24 months, and maybe your job is gone if it's not already being replaced. Once we bring in the robots, then your blue collar stuff is gone. It's all gone. They want it all. Okay, he talks about these resources. They're taking human resources right now at an exponential pace to feed the artificial intelligence. Okay? Sustainability and productivity are code words for them gutting humanity. And now he's going to tell you the same thing they've told us forever. Okay, forever and ever and ever and ever. This is all going to be great for us, and suddenly we're not going to have to work. And we can do whatever we want. That's not real. It's not real.
And so productivity will go up, and we get to decide, do we do new things? Do we reduce work week? Do we let people retire earlier? Eventually, society is better off.
Oh, yeah, eventually it's all just better off when people don't have a purpose. When they've been fed AI slop narrative management for God knows how long.
Here we are in Davos. The president's going to be speaking later this afternoon. There's a lot of hand-wringing going on among a lot of the political leaders about things, what's happening with Greenland and other pieces of the puzzle. And I'm curious what you're talking to lots of people over the last 24, 48 hours here. What are you hearing? What are you thinking?
Well, it's you never can guess what might happen next. It's a kind of an uncertain environment. Does that eventually erode business investment or these alliances that have been around for a long time? I'm pretty focused on the global health work,
right.
And getting what's been a very challenging year with childhood deaths going up for the first time in 25 years. Trying to make sure that between restoring the generosity there and the innovation, that we get back on track for the incredible reduction that we've had since 2000.
So let's just stop right there. First of all, I have no idea whether what he just said is in any way, shape, or form accurate. Okay. I want to say that I'm very skeptical of the idea that we've had more childhood deaths this year than ever before. And if that is the case, I would wonder what the metrics for that really is, if it's real. Okay. But you notice Gates, it just basically said he's got the presidency under control. Didn't even make a comment on it because he knows he's pushing forward with this global agenda. And you noticed he kept going, A lot of these guys seem to do that. It's weird. This guy seems to do that. Notice he talked about productivity going up. Here's the sustainability and productivity reality presented in 2011 at the Blue Tech Forum by the chief scientist of NASA and Langley.
In fact, prevention of collapse of the ecosystem has now become the overwhelming issue. Current food production is based on freshwater plants, i.e. glycophytes. We're running out of fresh water, as you know. The code word is sustainability. The crashing of the ecosystem is due to population growth and the way we're now living, our standard of living. The estimates vary between 30 and 50% of a planet that we're currently short to sustain the standard of living and the current population, much less the population growth. As the Asians and their billions come up as they are at 9 to 11% growth rate to Western standards of living, we're going to be short 3 more planets, and they're not readily available. This will result in peak everything. This will result in standards of living plunging. So this is Malthus 101.
Let me stop it right there. Now, he's telling you over a decade ago, we're running out of fresh water. And yet now we're feeding fresh water to the AI data centers at an alarming rate. So they knew this. They knew what they were going to have to do. He's telling you that your standard of living was way too high in the West, and it's about to plummet as Asia comes up. And then he tells you it's Malthus frickin' 101, Malthusianism. What is the value of a life?
These innate ecosystem restrictions and shortfalls will necessarily shift world econometrics from a growth mantra to one of sustainability, with possible population control instigated along the way that changes everything.
Let me stop it right there. He tells you right there, after talking about Malthusianism, that everybody asks who they are. Well, apparently they're the guys that work with Bushnell at the top to manage humanity at NASA and our military industrial complex, and the corporations that are in cahoots with them, like Gates. And he tells you they may instigate population control. Wow. Code word sustainability. I'm going to show you something right now. You know, I often go to this document, haven't gone to in a while, but we're going to go to it right now, is the Future Strategic Warfare. And for fun, I wanted to get just a generative summary. I wanted to see what the AI would say about it. Now at the bottom here at the AI, it says, be sure to double check responses as that may be inaccurate. Yeah, it didn't give me an overview. Been doing this for the entire broadcast. See, when it doesn't want to actually tell you what this is, like because now, the bots, Borgs, and humans welcome you to 2025. We're in 2026. It's a military industrial complex document. Tells you all this technology is here. Okay. Very accurate in its predictions right here. And, talks about that global warming, pollution. In a minute, he's going to tell you, with this productivity that we might just, genomically design or repair the human species. Talks about crossbreeding, different life forms, etc. in this document. It's weird the AI doesn't want to tell us what this is. Nanotechnology research, the age of humankind, bio-nano era starting in 2020. Right when they distributed and injected people with a bunch of bio-nanotechnology. The next one's virtual. Doesn't even involve humans. Let's see what we can do here. Let me see if I can get this thing to actually do it, to actually do the AI. Let's exit out. We're going to do it live. See if the AI wants to tell me. Doesn't look like it does, by the way, everybody. Looks like we're going to get the screw job here. There appears to be a long document. Okay, so we'll view the summary. Can we get a summary here? Can we get it? Only 110 pages. Or somewhere around there. Well, we'll check back. Because I got a funny feeling the AI doesn't want to talk about what this document is. Oh, here it is. I'm wrong. Wow, okay. Must have got stuck up. Let's see what we get. Okay, let's get this overview in front of us. Let's see. Emphasize the need for new military strategic due to rapid technological advancements in IT, bio, and nano fields. Highlights the shift from traditional warfare to automated and robotic systems, including the pace of complexity of conflicts. All right, nice. Giving us a lot. Predicts that by 2025, warfare will involve ubiquitous sensors, robotics, and advanced weaponry, making conventional defense strategies inadequate. Notes that approximately 7% of the world's research is conducted outside of the USA, with 18% of global GDP produced by the U.S. Key technologies. Let's see. Computing power. Seems to leave out a lot of the alarming stuff about humanity, though, doesn't it? Okay. Does identify the proliferation of advanced weaponry, including cruise missiles and bioweapons, as a major concern for the future conflicts. Doesn't mention anything about the population stuff. Enter your own questions or prompt. What does it have to say about population control? See if we get anything in here. Briefly mentions population control in the context of global problems and potential solutions. Suggests that inexpensive, motivational, asynchronous, web-based distance education could help stabilize world population growth. Specifically, it states that education could lead to stabilization of the world population, equalization of the haves and have-nots. Also highlights the rapid increase of global population, noting that the size of the crew on Spaceship Earth is cruising 2 million people per week. But specific strategies for direct population control are not detailed. What about biological manipulation? Yep. And listen, you gotta ask it the right questions. But here now it's really getting into it. It starts talking about the directed evolution, farm animals, aka pharma animals. I mean, there you go. Look at this. Look at this. That's what it's really about. That's where the meat and potatoes is. So now let's go back to Bushnell, okay? And hear what he has to say about productivity. Remember, Gates was talking productivity.
In terms of employment, just as an example, we are in a jobless economic recovery. There's about 7 million jobs missing. Some of them were globalized and offshore, about a third. The rest of them are gone. The code word is productivity improvement, which is a code word for ever better automation and robotization. If you look at the way the robots are going, human level machine intelligence from the IBM Brain Project is now about 10 to 15 years out. Via biomimetics, where they've nanosectioned the neocortex and they're replicating it in silicon, okay? And they're having great success at all of this. So this is not soft computing, this is via biomimetics. We have looked 20, 30 years out with the way robotics and automation and machine intelligence is going at what jobs the machines cannot do. The answer is none. We thought we need human touch labor in nursing homes for a while, but the Japanese 2 years ago put robots in nursing homes and patients like them much better than the humans.
It's hilarious. We're replacing human beings in the medical system even then to get them to acquiesce to this.
The machines are creating wealth within the structures of the ecosystem capability. The machines are reducing costs, okay, producing wealth, but the humans increasingly can't compete.
The machines are capable.
Oh, don't know why I did it like that, but here we go. So this is a compilation of the same man, probably about 5 years later, talking about this movement. And you know what? I'm just going to play. This is like a 6.5 minute compilation. I'm going to step out. I'm going to let you guys listen to it. He already tells you that Google's reading all your emails years ago. That everything's going into this brain. And at the end, he shockingly says, yeah, no, pretty much humanity's over. And what's going to happen to all these humans is you're going to have human contaminated machines, the eradication of humanity. But let him take you through it in these 6.5 minutes, okay?
Of really good deep learning. And that's what most of the current AI is based on. The current AI is essentially soft computing. It's neural nets, fuzzy logic, algorithms, and the deep learning. The machines coming up as we leave silicon and go to bio-optical, quantum, nano, molecular, and atomic computing, there's another 10 to the 8th to 10 to the 12th to go. We've come 10 to the 8th so far. The machine intelligence, currently, there's the soft computing business, but no one really sees a way to get to humans via deep learning or soft computing. They just don't, not yet. There's no breakthrough in algorithms. What we are doing, which will get to humans, people now think, and this is what's worrying people, is the biomimetics part. This is where you nanosection the neocortex, replicate it in silicon, and you don't have to understand how it works. You just have to make it work this way as an artificial human brain surrogate. They will all go to Google. Oh, God. Okay? So this is now the de facto global brain, which will only get better. And we are busily, with nanosensors and other sensors, networking within 10 years, some 3 trillion sensors. So the global brain will be fed with all of this information, okay, and it will have all of the contents of all the libraries, and it will read all of everybody's emails and everything else, and so you end up with a really big global brain. That's different from intelligence. These people that you speak of that are worried about this are worried about the fact that as we develop, which we can now, it looks like via biomimetics at least in the next 10, 20, 25 years, a human level machine intelligence, there's the conventional rules of we're going to make it friendly to humans. Well, it turns out that people have now delved into that a bit, and they're not so sure we can do that.
Well,
okay?
you know,
and a really good brain, human level and beyond machine intelligence, could easily produce untoward effects on humans. It wouldn't have to be malicious. It would just have to be unthinking and wipe us all up, given our huge reliance upon electrons in everything we do. And in fact, what we're developing this time is essentially a second intelligent species. We are with the biomimetics, where we're nanosectioning the neocortex and replicating it in silicon, people edge were 10 to 15 to maybe 20 years max out from having a human level machine intelligence. The nano robotics is giving all the dexterity, human dexterity, and so forth. So when one looks in the totality of the human versus the robot knows more. The robot has a much better safety record. In aviation, 85% of the safety issues are human factors. It's clear if you want a safer system, you have less humans. The machines so far are more knowledgeable. The robot that we're using now to do cancer research and the cancer treatments is much better than the human physicians. The teachers are in fact more effective, the robot teachers, in educating children. They're more creative, the child has more control, and so forth and so on. The studies show that children learn 4 to 5 times faster than they do in conventional schools, and that's because conventional schools, they have a large amount of time keeping order. The classmates are not always supportive for people who are brainy and intelligent, so forth and so on. So that, you know, the total education system for the robot teacher tends to be better. There will be essentially no jobs the machines cannot do. We currently have creative software that are doing ideation just as good or better than humans now. The creative jobs will be the last ones to go, but I have not been able to discern any jobs the machines cannot do as machine intelligence and all the rest of the autonomous robotics develops. So now we're to your question, okay, what do you do with these people? There's essentially 3 options. You've covered one, which is the guaranteed income. And the machines can produce the productivity, the wealth necessary to pay this. It's just the machines do the work instead of the people. Yes, you have to change the cultural milieu, but you know, this is eventually doable. This is only one approach. The second approach is the fact that what's changed since you last looked at this is the whole technology level, and we humans are now converting ourselves into cyborgs. We now have artificial retinas, artificial hearts, we have brain chips. DARPA's working on brain chips for super soldiers. We can have a high bandwidth COM port built in, so we don't have to use the sensors, and they're very limited bandwidth. And eventually, this all ends up with uploading into the machines. And instead of us versus them, humans versus the machines, we become them, or they become us, or you end up with human contaminated machines. Now,
Human contaminated machines, after he tells you that AI is going to teach your children, AI is going to be your doctor. Google does spy on everything you do and is the global brain. The biomimetics is on the way. Okay? That brain chips have been developed. And really, that's what we're going to end on, because this is much further along than people really realize. And as the automation comes in, as the robots come in, they're going to push the transhumanism even more. And here's Bushnell. Now, in that Blue Tech forum, he said about 10,000 people globally had already had brain chips. In 2018, he says 200,000.
Humans are now becoming cyborgs. We have cochlear implants to hear, artificial retinas to see, artificial hearts to live, artificial limbs to move, artificial organs to functions, and brain chips. There's a couple 100,000 people wandering around with brain chips now to fix congenitally defective brains and increasingly to fix memory and other things. DARPA's working on brain chips for super soldiers. And people are now working, thanks to Musk and other people funding direct machine-brain communications. It's not us versus them, us versus the machines. We're merging. And this is the human evolution of the humans. There is no more natural evolution of anything. People are convinced that the human evolution of everything is 10 million times faster than any natural evolution. And so this is just part of the human evolution of the humans, which will apply in a little bit when I talk about something else.
Is the Russian satellite.
The satellite stuff we can save for another time. We've gone over it. You think about what he just said there. Okay? These people have constantly sold you on the idea of the Big Bang and evolution, but that's over. There is no more natural evolution of anything biological on the planet. We decide. We're the ones that evolve everything. And the same psychopaths that are talking about it are talking about what? Merging with the machines. Brain chips in humans. Folks, we're on the road right now. This ain't science fiction. This is science fact. And we better buckle up because the rodeo is about to get rough. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please consider supporting it. Again, I know I'm not doing the hot topics. I'm not sitting here talking about what's on the front page of the paper and the culture wars all the time and the partisan Johnny nonsense. Please consider supporting the broadcast. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Big donors. We've also got the PayPal down below. It's also at Jason Bermas. All one word for Cash App or Venmo. Want to thank those that have supported that way. Want to say thank you to Runny Logs. Bought some coffees. Folks, you know the drill. Not about left or right, especially with this. Again, the great replacement you better worry about is the replacement of humanity itself. I absolutely love it.